Here we go. Okay.
It's 9 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Is there any addition or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one addition on the consent agenda. Add item number 6, add on commissioner's warrant. The amount is $877.41. Add on commissioner's warrant for $877.41. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, with that one addition, I'll move the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, my motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of 12/17/24, 1/7/25, auditor warrants of 1/10/25, commissioners warrants, hospital warrants of $760,885.98, $81,344.09, hospital offline warrants of $1,199,182.86, and the additional warrants of $877.41.
I'd move for approval. I'll support that.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next, we have Nick Bergman, County Engineer. Morning, Nick.
Good morning. All right, first up for me today will be some project updates. The first update I have is on our 2024 box culvert contract number 1. All those pipes have been installed, but in schedule, it got done late and the ground froze up before they could finish that in the spring. Then next update I have would be our CASA 25 project. Where I'm gonna go through some of the proposals we received and I'll ask for approval on that. So. Project updates.
Like on the box culverts contract number 2, were any of those put in?
I think that was the Midwest set. Yeah. No, they were not. They had some pipe made. They were gonna, if the weather held out, they were gonna try to do something on one of them, but it didn't work out. So. Next up, maintenance striping. I'll probably be back in a month or so. Request approval for striping contract of the year, but I did want to let you know, I think we might have to switch over to 6-inch striping instead of 4. But I think, Dallas, did you bring something up about that a while ago?
Not about the width, but
It wasn't the width, okay.
about the necessity of it, yeah.
Okay, so either way, they'll be coming back. Those numbers will probably look higher than normal because it'd be 6 inches wide instead of 4 inches wide, but just wanted to give you the heads up on that.
Is that a new regulation or?
I don't know if it's a requirement, but it's guidance. I gotta look into that some more. Our guys came across something and said it was a requirement, but I want to confirm that first, so. Next up, Ruthven shop door. We have a few bad panels on it. It's a 15-year-old door. We got some numbers. We had 2 different people look at it. One says you can't get panels, one says you can. So, so I have 3 numbers there. Replacement of the 3 panels would be $1,993.17. And then the other company or the 2 big numbers are full door replacement. So door's 15 years old. I feel like it probably last a while yet, but.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the repair.
Fair.
So $1,993.17.
Next up,
I will second.
a motion second to approve the bid from Midwest Overhead Door to replace the 3 bad panels. Any further discussion?
I just got a question, Nick. I'm assuming that's probably from just damage, you know, they didn't just go bad.
If we asked, nobody,
Nobody hit it.
maybe they did and didn't notice it. I'm
I
not
can
sure.
remember, I can remember probably still when I was there 4 years ago. I think the bottom one had a dent from being damaged, but maybe more. I don't
And
know.
when it got really bad, if you remember a month or so ago, we had some really strong winds for a couple
Oh,
days.
Okay.
It started,
Oh, once it buckled once.
Yep.
then it's- Yeah. Okay.
now you can see some daylight in there, so it's like, yeah, we got everything we could out of it, so.
No, that's fine.
Are these steel insulated doors or aluminum doors? Do you know?
Well, they said the panels are aluminum, I'm sure.
Now, some of them are
The panel
Yeah,
itself and then the insulated.
the insulation, yeah. Rollers and track and so forth all look decent, yeah.
This includes new cables too, I believe.
Okay.
Kind of iffy on it, so.
Sounds good.
So this number supposedly need to get it back up to snuff, so.
Is there any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up. For the design consultant on CASA 25. Dale Barn Road, as we sometimes refer to it. We sent out, requests for bids to 7 different firms. We received 5 back. The 2 I have listed here are the most competitive. You know, you never know everybody's situation. The other ones might have been bidding in overtime because they were overbooked or something, so I didn't want it to look misleading towards them, you know, and their bid price, but these are the 2 lowest bids, most competitive ones. Happy with either of them. We worked the most with Erickson Engineering, and they're the low bid, and their proposal looked really good, so I'd have no reason not to recommend them, but.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we accept the low bid from Erickson Engineering.
I'll support that.
A motion second to approve the low bid from Erickson Engineer. Any further discussion?
I've got a question for Nick here. Is this pretty standard when you're doing this project, or is it because you're kind of short a person? Or gonna be short a person? Cause would they be doing it if you had that other person?
If we were fully staffed, we would generally probably try to do something like this ourselves. You know, if you recall a month or 2 ago, whatever it was, I said we were having hard times finding
Yeah, no, I remember that.
another person, so I wanted to try not filling that tech spot and just hiring out some of this as needed.
And my thought was, you know, 104,000 almost. That pays a lot of another person.
Yep. And if we did this every year, it would not be cost
Yeah.
effective, but we only do this probably every 3 years or so.
If there's other work you're gonna hire out, though, that's,
Eventually, we don't have anything like this coming up, so, we're gonna track this to see,
experimental.
yeah, I want to see what's most cost effective, so we will be tracking what we're spending on these consultants and then what we're saving by not having that extra spot, so. So we're
Well, now
keeping
you're-
tabs on that, but I don't have anything to report
Now
yet.
you're keeping track and
Yep.
you can reevaluate, yeah.
Yep, if it's something that's not cost effective, we'll try to advertise again, so, yep.
Any other discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up, I have some maintenance updates. In the last month, we've been out plowing. We've got that shouldering that we bought from Murray County retrofitted now, so that mounts on our machine. Been doing some tree work, bunch of shop repairs, you know, on equipment, stuff like that. Getting ready for the upcoming year. You're currently having a problem with our fueling system. Our sensors are going out one by one. We've had a guy out, come to find out our lines are breaking underground, kind of one by one. He thinks that the conduit is filled up with water and is freezing. So, when I say lines, I mean electrical lines, not fuel lines, so. So, we're hoping, we have a large stick we can dip our tank with, so we're monitoring our levels that way, and we're hoping to get by till spring that way, and not have to try to thaw ground or whatever it would be to dig it up now, so. So we're trying to hold out, but I don't know, we may end up having to bite the bullet and try to fix that in the middle of winter, so.
Mr. Chair, Nick, so this is on the new tank that with the big tank we put in just.
Electrical lines that run from the building
Right.
to the pumps, so
Were
the pumps
those-
still work. It's just the level monitors.
Right.
First we had one go out, now they're all out, actually.
Those conduits, were those put in new when this tank was put in a couple years ago?
Yep.
I think so.
They were.
Yep.
Okay. Are they EMT, or IMT conduit, or are they PVC conduit? Do we know? Is it
I have-
plastic or steel?
I have absolutely no clue.
If it's
I never-
plastic or not.
I
Okay.
just, that's what they told me. I believed it.
I saw him do it. I'm not 100%.
And was it one of the local electrical contractors that did it?
I don't remember that either. I could maybe find out,
I
but I
think it
don't.
was local. You could look up the bid and stuff.
I would assume it's in that box.
I'm pretty sure it was local.
Yeah. I wonder if it'd be worthwhile touching base with them and see if there's anything they can do from a warranty standpoint, even though it's been a couple of years. Conduit lasts more than a couple of years. So apparently we didn't have proper backfill or something.
It's been 5-6 years.
5-6 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Did they get compaction when they filled that trench back
We
in?
did that.
You did. Okay.
Actually, I think it's been longer than that because
Oh, could
Dave
be.
spearheaded that project.
Oh, then it's been long.
So I think it's
It's been
longer
longer
than,
than 5.
we might
Okay.
actually be sneaking up on 10,
Oh,
so.
it is? Oh, okay.
Okay, that's different. You
Yeah.
get older, memory starts going, time compresses.
Yeah, there you go.
For what it's worth, I could tell you right where it's at. If you come out to our yard, on the south side of the shop.
Yeah, well, with all the truck traffic and stuff too, and
Yeah, I'm just, there's a big concrete slab there. And then, where the bituminous meets the concrete, there's a strip about that wide of concrete.
Yeah.
And I think that's right where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we know right where to dig.
But the pumps still work. It's just.
Pumps
it's
still
just
work.
monitors.
That's why we're gonna try to limp it
Just
by
stick
till
in front of
spring.
It's the monitoring system.
Yeah. And, you know, if we had to, I would imagine we could get someone out to, rig up a generator for those pumps if we had to temporarily get by. You know, we could put our generator out there, but.
But the pumps still work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After
So-
10 years goes by quickly, doesn't it?
Does, don't it?
Well, that's what we say about road projects too. Whatever, however long ago you think it was, double
Double
it.
it, We just fixed that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so. That's our plan on that, so. And then, lastly, as you probably all know, we had a motor grader get rear-ended in a snow event. And that machine is at John Deere, getting a good estimate. They're putting it on the frame rack. They suspect some frame damage, so. It was our second. I think it's our second newest, so it's. Kind of wish it would have happened to one of the older ones,
Yeah.
but you know, it had to be the second newest, of course, so.
And the operator is back to work.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
he's back to work, yep,
Great, that's.
yes, yeah, that's the main thing, so. Other than that, any questions for me? That's all I have.
Any other questions? Thanks, Nick.
Yep, all right, and then, that's Cody Brand from MnDOT back there, so.
Oh, looks like he's ready if you want to come on, Cody. See, why not?
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Brian from MnDOT. I'm the traffic engineer for District 8. District 8's 12-county area that covers Pipestone. I've been invited here today from Nick, and I understand that there's some questions, concerns regarding signs on Highway 75 that were removed with our last sign replacement project. So I just want to give a little bit of background as to our methodology, our strategy, and then, you know, take questions, concerns, and try to answer those. So we, those types of signs, the green signs with city names or community names on them, those are referred to as destination signs. And when we go through our manual on uniform traffic control devices, that's the manual that administers or recommends all sorts of various signs, striping, signals, those types of things, and kind of federal regulations that are then adopted by Minnesota. What it refers to those signs is as directing drivers to a business area. And so our interpretation of those signs is that they're really, to meet drivers' expectations, they should be directing somebody to a business area that would have typical amenities that a driver would want to encounter. So, those typical things would be gas, food, whether that's restaurants or grocery store, and possibly lodging. That was kind of a bigger issue in the past, not so much as the ability to pre-plan, but it's really the gas and food, either restaurants or grocery stores. And so when we started looking at this, we were kind of finding that some of these destination signs were directing people to communities that were smaller in population and typically did not offer all of those amenities, maybe one of the amenities, but typically not a combination of gas and food. And so we started removing those signs because we felt that it really does not meet driver expectation, that when you see one of those signs, you should reasonably expect that you could turn and go towards that community and get the services that you would typically want as a driver. And so we've started removing those. And when we actually started looking at statute, what we found is that there's definitions, of city and definitions of towns. And we found that that actually aligns pretty well with where we would expect that these signs should go and where they shouldn't. Is cities typically provide those amenities, towns typically do not. Some of the smaller cities start to become a little bit questionable of whether or not they have both of those amenities, but that's kind of the cutoff, and that's what we're using as a strategy. Now, as I looked through the signs that were removed, it was Ward, Cazenovia, and Trotsky. Trotsky is a city, so that one we'll take another look at of whether or not to replace, but Ward and Cazenovia are both considered towns. Now, I do recognize that, as I acknowledged earlier, some of these towns do have one amenity. Typically, a restaurant is the common one, some sort of restaurant. I know like Ward has the steakhouse, but we do have other options for those types of businesses. So we have what's called specific service signs. Those are the blue signs, and we refer to them as wayfinding signs. They're not advertising signs, but they're wayfinding to a specific business. And we feel that those are a lot more appropriate if you're directing motorists to a single amenity. So in the case of Ward, it could be an option that they could look at, a specific service sign for the steakhouse, so that you're informing drivers that, hey, there's this specific amenity, but you're not misleading them to think that there's multiple amenities that they would typically like to encounter or would typically be interested in. So that's our methodology. There's some other, advantages or benefits of reducing our signs. Cost becomes a factor. I did look at if we were to provide those green signs for every town within our district, that's a $260,000 expense, and those signs have a 15-year life cycle, so replaced on a 15-year cycle. Additionally, there are some maintenance issues. The more things you have in your roadway or near your roadway, the more things there are to maintain. These are what I would say kind of secondary issues. Really, the primary issue is that driver expectation. We did receive a couple of calls initially with concerns of those signs being removed. Over the past couple of months, we have not had any further calls. Now, I understand that local representatives, you may be still hearing about that. We want to know that. But one of our thoughts too is that we are still providing the route marker signs. So the signs that would say, county road and give an arrow to turn. And so we expect that, it will take some time for drivers to get used to typically seeing that sign and turning and now looking for a different sign, looking for a route number sign instead. But we do feel that drivers will adapt to that and, use that landmark instead or that sign instead. Additionally, maps, GPS services, those are all referring to route markers, so that information is still there for the driver to know or understand where to turn. So that's our methodology, but with that, I'd just open it up for discussions, comments, questions, and concerns.
Looks like we have somebody from, hi, who'd like to come forward, please.
She need the podium and the mic or,
Either way.
yeah,
Take Jermaine's chair, otherwise.
yeah.
Then the microphone can pick you up.
She picked up on the audio too.
Yes. Could you please state your name for the public record, please?
Yes, my name is Renee Roskamp. I live in Edgerton, Minnesota.
Morning, Renee.
Hi. I didn't really know the reason why you took the signs down. You explained about the amenities, things like that. But I am concerned for these towns, cities, because they need deliveries. People bring corn there in the fall. People travel to them. And where do I turn? You know, the 16, 17-year-old boy who's helping his father farm. And okay, take the corn to Edgerton, take the corn to Jasper. Where do you turn? There's no sign. Okay, and I do want to tell you, I like the small signs with the arrows where to turn, because in the night when it's dark, it's easier to see where to turn on a gravel road. I do like those, but I still feel that these cities and towns need an arrow pointing to them where they are, because they receive services, and those services have to come, and they have to know where to bring them. Okay? That's how I feel about it. This is purely personal. You can put it off record if you want. My grandchildren go to college in Iowa. They come to visit us. They live in the cities, but they go to college in Iowa. And when they come to visit Grandpa and Grandma, they drive up Highway 75, but where do you turn? You know, we go over it with them, but I can't go over the where to turn with all the drivers on the road. And so thankfully they get there safe enough now. But I am very concerned about the fact that it's not only amenities, the fact that these towns are being, I can't think of the word, they're not receiving the services that they need to from the state highway. Have you taken signs off any other highway in the state?
Yeah, so when we replace our signs on a 15-year cycle, other than damaged signs or new signs, but in general, we replace a 15-year cycle. We did Highway 75, Highway 4 in the Cosmos area, and we removed a town sign of Minnehaha. And then I believe we did Highway 9, and I don't think there were any towns there. In fact, when we looked at the signs, there was actually a greater percentage of the town destination signs kind of in this area than the rest of the district. So there's less for us to remove under this current methodology than in other parts of the district. But this is what we would continue to implement going forward. So we would treat every situation the same based on this methodology. So last year we did remove one other one, that was Minnehaha. And then future ones would go on that 15-year cycle.
Okay, but you are planning to do, okay, I know you have a district, but are you planning to do the whole state to take away destination signs?
For towns in our district, our 12-county area, yes.
Okay, just our area.
Mhm.
You don't know about the other areas.
The other areas, it is an area of engineering judgment. It doesn't say specifically put them for towns, put them for cities. It says sign them to business areas, which we are interpreting as, an area that would be of a common destination for a driver. And so it doesn't specifically say you have to do cities, you can't do towns. So each district is, it's up to their own interpretation. From having discussions with them, they are also generally using a similar philosophy of signing for communities. I'll use that as a more general term. Communities that would offer, gas and food services.
Yeah, and lodging.
And lodging.
But those, you said those would be outside, like on the interstates.
So they are on all, or they're an option for all any types of roadways, those blue signs. Once there are rules around them, once you get into like an urban area, we generally do not allow as many of those blue signs because we don't really want to, direct people. Like if you see a gas station, we don't want to be directing them off the roadway a couple blocks away to another gas station. It's really typically rural areas, but those blue signs would be another option for businesses within these towns that no longer have a destination sign to sign, what specific amenity it is and provide greater detail, greater information to the driver to decide whether or not they want to turn off the roadway. Some of these towns are multiple miles off of the roadway. And so if you see that green sign and you're like, I need gas, and you pull off there and there's no gas station, I see that as a disservice to the drivers. If they come to that area and they see, a restaurant sign and they're like, yeah, I want to stop for food. Now they know that that restaurant is there, but they're not up to believe that there might be other services offered that are not actually present.
Okay, I noticed one sign this morning. It is on County 9. I was coming from Edgerton, and there's a nice sign, nice green sign. It says Pipestone, 9 miles, Laverne, 20, I can't remember how many miles. So the mileage can be put on those signs.
That is true.
But like I said, it's a disservice to these communities because they need deliveries. They need food, they need parts, they need gas, they need, the stuff that goes to the elevator, the stuff that goes to the lumber yard. These towns need services. And if the trucks do not know where to turn, what's going to happen?
Yeah, our expectation is that the majority of drivers who are driving to a specific location are either familiar with that location and, recognize the landmarks of where to turn or recognize that route sign, or B, they have pre-planned their trip using GPS or maps, which again reference those route numbers. And so we feel that the general population that is trying to get to one of those locations still has sufficient information to get there using those route signs. I do recognize that a destination sign having the town name makes it easier to identify than the route number. but I think that comes with the trade-off of, are we setting expectations for a driver that we're not meeting because they're not able to get the typical services that they look for? So I do acknowledge that there are other, other reasons to go to a community other than just the amenities, but I believe that the majority of people that are going to those communities are either A, familiar with it, or B, have pre-planned their route in some form and still have the information available to them to navigate to that.
So you are just assuming this is going to happen? That people will have the GPS and the routes to there? Because not everybody has that.
That is correct. And not everybody knows what services are offered in that community either. And so, leading them under a false assumption or potentially misinforming them of what might be available is the trade-off. So I don't know that, I think there's a differing opinion on that, but that was our final conclusion, is that we felt that it provides a greater disservice to the driver who is not familiar with the area than it does to the driver who is more familiar with the area.
Okay, can I ask, is this the final decision? It won't be revisited?
I would never say anything is final. We continue to monitor, we continue to monitor the performance of our roads in every which way. We continue to monitor our practices and update them, based on current guidance, based on culture, how drivers are getting their information. So I would never say that it's final, and that, if we have compelling reasons to take a different practice, we certainly can. This is kind of our first effort at really trying to make this more consistent, make it more uniform. A lot of what's happened, dates back 40, 50 years. Signs went up and they've just been replaced. And we don't have real good record why certain signs, why certain communities were selected, why they weren't. And so it's time to revisit that and come up with a strategy that we can implement consistently across the district. And if we continue to have, similar concerns brought up as we go through this, we can always say, look, we tried it, it didn't work, we're gonna put the signs back in. There's really no money lost, to go in later and do it. So I would say, no, it's not final, and we are always, updating our practices.
Well, there is one sign you have to put back. It pertains to the tourism of the state of Minnesota. Island State Park had a grand opening this fall of the Stone Arch Bridge. It is the only stone arch bridge in Minnesota that can be driven across. There's one in Minneapolis that's a footbridge, but the one in Island State Park is the only stone arch bridge that you can drive over. Island State Park itself should be a destination, not just too far off the way.
And just to verify, that's Split Rock Creek.
Split Rock.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had the wrong name.
Yeah, I can, I'm not prepared to discuss that one, but I can look into it a little bit. I do know with state parks, our current guidance, or our current manual states that they are only to be signed from the nearest state highway. And so I think with Island, you've got Highway 75 and you've got Highway 23. And so it is, I believe, signed from one or the other. And that's what our recommendations are. We have been going through further discussions. That one's not open to interpretation. That is simply what it states is the nearest highway. But we have been going through having conversations statewide of whether to update that if we have a state park that's kind of equidistance between two highways. We do feel that it does make more sense. The original intent behind saying it could only be from the nearest one was that you didn't sign multiple parallel routes as you got further. It was like, no, you signed the route that's closest, but it does make some sense that when you start, having highways on either side of it, that each one would receive a sign, because a driver obviously on 75 is not going to be over on 23 to see that
And see
sign.
it,
So
yes.
that is being discussed, and I personally agree with that. We'll have to see what the rest of the statewide discussions are and the updates to that manual, but I'm a proponent of that and bringing that forward as my professional opinion for
Okay,
updates.
thank you for answering my questions. I have one more thing that is totally off the record. And I'm going to be snarky here. You have a sign to tell people, to tell drivers who picks up the garbage. But you don't have signs to destinations.
I believe you'd be referring to like our Adopt a Highway signs that
Yes.
say who's providing the service.
Quite large. Okay, that's all I have. I'm sorry, I was snarky.
You can always feel free to reach out to me directly too if you have any further, items to discuss. I'd be glad to continue our discussion if you'd like. Thank you, Renee.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add a couple names to your list. The Verdi sign is gone and the Edgerton sign is gone. I had a person, you don't get the phone calls, I get the phone calls. It's in my district. Somebody said we're going to Verdi and they ended up in Lake Benton. They missed the sign for Verdi. They didn't see the county whatever sign that, they didn't know what county sign is. It's the Hatfield tar, it's Woodstock tar, People don't look at the numbers of the roads. I'm concerned about the safety aspect. When it's foggy or snowy, those big green signs tell you where to turn. You usually don't see a little sign when it's foggy or snowy. Most of the phone calls I've gotten were from truckers. You think they know where to go? No, they rely on those directional signs too. And one of them is on the way to Sioux City today, or else he would be here today.
My
Okay.
turn, Mr.
Sure.
Chair.
Yeah.
Cody, in your opening statements, you talked about the fact that when you first implemented this, about 2 months ago, you had a few complaints and then it kind of died off. We've been waiting for 2 months for you to come and address this with us.
Yeah, I mean, I explained to Nick my schedule. I'm in meetings realistically about 6 hours a day.
Yep.
Coming down here and back.
Don't interpret because you haven't heard, it's not a problem. It's a problem.
I acknowledge
Also, why
that.
weren't we informed about this beforehand? Why weren't we part of the decision-making process?
As you're referring to the county government in general?
Yes. You disregarded our concerns whatsoever. In fact, we weren't even aware of it until it was a done deal. You talked about cost savings. These were existing signs. Where's the cost savings taking down an existing sign? In fact, actually, it cost you labor to take that existing sign down.
Signs do have to be maintained on a 15-year cycle, and so when they're at the end of service life, they do have to be removed. They have minimum reflectivity requirements, and so if we do not meet those, then the signs have to be replaced. So just because they were there doesn't mean that it's no additional cost to replace them. They do have to be replaced and maintained, so.
You said replace twice now.
Replaced.
You aren't gonna replace these.
Right.
You're just gonna remove.
Results in a cost savings by not replacing them.
Were these all due to be replaced right now?
Yes.
Also, I'd like to follow up on Renee's comment about the Adopt a Highway signs. What's your policy on those? Are those still signs that you put up?
Yes.
You can spend money for an Adopt a Highway sign to get free labor to pick up garbage, but you cannot put up a sign for safety. And I will also piggyback on Dallas's comment. Have you never driven in the fog? Have you never driven in a whiteout? Okay. Do you think it makes sense not to have a sign there?
I still believe that there's route signs that direct people to destinations as well. That's my, the sign, there's still signs out there that direct people, that identify the roadways that people
I
are turning
disagree with you
onto.
vehemently. I request that you reconsider this and put these signs back.
Okay, I will engage in further discussions with our management.
Luke?
I have a question regarding the blue signs. Do the businesses have to pay for those, or how do they go about getting them if they want them?
They do have to pay for them. Yes. There's, so we have in our manual has a list of requirements or criteria that the businesses must meet to install those signs, and then they do purchase those signs for 15 years, and then they are up for renewal. So
So who do they contact to do that?
they can contact our office. Specifically, it's Justin Hines, but if you get in contact with me, I can get them in contact with the appropriate individual.
How do you spell his last name?
Heinze. I don't, I don't have his phone number offhand, but all of our state email addresses are the same, where it's first name, period, last name at state.mn.us.
Anything else, Luke?
Nope.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Visitors in the back.
Thank you for your time, Cody.
Yeah, I appreciate the concerns being brought forth, and I will continue to engage in discussions with management as to whether this is the practice that we will continue.
Chairman, one more question. Is a replacement still on track for that piece of ground, piece of road?
Oh, on Highway 75 south of town?
Yes.
I don't know the specific year, but I don't believe it's changed years. It is two separate projects. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, from the junction of Highway 30 down to kind of the south side of the industrial area.
Yeah.
That is being led separate because we are looking at other options for that, different lane configurations and such.
Still in the city limits. It's in the city limits, yes.
Yeah, that's in 28 and the other parts in 26.
Yep, and that has not moved. It has not changed years. It's continuing to progress. I've seen plans come through for that. That south section is still moving forward on track.
I know it's a different territory, but the one from the end of your territory, Laverne, is awful also.
I believe they have a resurfacing project
25, I
in
think,
the
is.
plans for that. I don't know this. I think it might have, at least at one time, I believe it was a cold in place recycle with a couple inches of bituminous over that, fairly robust fix, and kind of if you were to put it in the scheme, concrete's usually our longest lasting product, and then kind of a full depth reclamation or cold in place is right up there for bituminous, and then we get into kind of the mill and overlay types of fixes. So it is up there, or at least last that I was aware, that was the project that was planned for that.
Well, we don't want to see that slide any further back.
Do have one more question for Cody. If the issue is the cost of the signs, and if the state cannot see it fit to pay for these signs, is there a mechanism where the county could pay to put these signs back up?
No, I mean, like I had mentioned, I would say cost and maintenance are secondary issues. I believe the main issue at play is, what information are we providing to drivers and whether or not we feel that that's providing the greatest benefit or not.
So less information is better is what you're telling me.
I believe that it's better meets drivers' expectations, providing information. So I don't, in my opinion, my professional judgment is that if the amenities are not available, that it is not providing credible information to drivers. So I don't believe that it's,
In the question of amenities, if you live in Trotsky, that's your house. You're in the middle of a snowstorm, a whiteout. I don't care if there's a gas station. I don't care if there's a restaurant. I want to know where my house is at. And if I can't see it in a blizzard, I would like to have a sign up there telling me where my corner's at to turn.
I think we'll have to disagree on this because, you know, there is still signs that indicate the roadway to turn onto. And so I believe that there's still signs providing that information.
But they are a lot smaller and harder to see in whiteout.
I acknowledge they are smaller and therefore, yeah, visibility would be less than what there would be with a green sign.
Anybody else have anything for Cody? Okay, well, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next order of business, we have Bill Folger, IT Director. Morning, Bill.
Good morning. This morning, I've got a request to buy a couple different blocks of hours from Morse Electronics for our month and for after-hour support. If we pay ahead of time, we'll get a discount on the rates. That's something, I mean, we're doing this anyway. I think it'd be worth it to get a better discount on the hours. And they'll carry over to the next year if we don't consume them all. That's what it is. Any questions about that or?
Go ahead, Luke.
Is any of this due to the dispatch remodel? Or are we using them at all for that or not really?
Sean's next visit, we'll ask him a bunch of questions about what we're doing there, but this is not for the dispatch model.
But I just noticed that the total of the two, number of hours, was more than what we used the previous year.
It
And
is.
that's why I was just curious what caused that increase or.
We're just doing it kind of a blanket thing. Last year, we had a lot of inclement weather and that kind of cut some of the times, but some of those times that he'd be here.
And just to be clear, on one sheet from Morse Electronics, if you do the math on the number of hours, it doesn't match the numbers given under annual cost.
No, it does not. That's correct. This is new to them, doing after-hour support versus the normal rate. Before, like last year and all the years back, we've been just doing one rate for everything. But they're changing the way they do business a little bit with after hours being separate from the normal like service day.
Right, which I understand. I mean, that's pretty typical. But just so we have the right now, I mean, the 17,880 is correct for the day hours, but then the night for 24/7 hours would be 16,000. 125 times 128.
Sorry, Luke, I am not following you there.
Well, they're charging $125 an hour. You're asking for 128 hours. And that math is 16,000.
Yeah, apparently there's an error there.
So the ask here is the 17,880 plus 16,000 or 33,880.
Just a guess, on the amount of hours. But
Right, no, I
get,
understand that.
I get what you're saying there.
And you're saying that
That
they
is
carry
math.
over, which is great. But
The math does not look right. You're correct there.
I'm just trying to clarify what the ask is here as far as the amount. And it doesn't say that on the sheet we're looking at.
Okay, so the after-hour rate that they're quoting us is 110.93 is what it's looking like to me. Or no, that's the monthly cost of those hours.
And it says,
Yeah, I'm confused now on.
says the after hours rate with contract per hour has 125.
125, yeah.
Okay, so then, and you want 128 hours. After hours, yeah, at the discounted rate, which that is the
Well,
discounted rate.
I'm gonna go back to him for that. So at this point, I just want to go ahead with the top portion of this for the 17,880. And we'll figure out what this meant.
Also, Bill, I've got a question on the travel part of it.
Yeah,
So apparently he's got access to Morris.
yeah.
He flies himself, I think.
Yeah.
So is he going to fly just for the after for the emergency responses or on a regular course? If he comes down for regular business, is he gonna be flying then as well?
Depending on whether it could be both.
Okay, and so is it round trip? You've got the 175 times 2 for the 350. So is it 350 per round trip or 350 per one way?
Says per visit, so.
Per visit.
So,
Yeah, so I would assume that means round trip.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
because to drive it, it's about a 3-hour drive.
Like a hour and 15 minutes plus 30 minutes of fuel.
Flight, yeah.
Putting stuff away.
Yeah. So is that's at your discretion though, of when he comes? He doesn't come on a regular basis.
He does come on a regular basis. Yeah.
Okay,
Him or Darren. Darren works remotely, but that's kind of a regular thing.
I mean, basically for the 12 times that we're being asked to pay for, he's using that method every time.
Mhm.
The 350 times 12 is 4,200.
And then I don't know if that's the most economical way of him getting here or not. I don't know.
What it does is instead of paying for 3 hours of him sitting in the car, we have him longer. We get him here and he's here longer.
An extra
Yeah.
hour and a half, because it
Yeah.
takes an hour and a half to fly versus 3 hours to drive.
Each way though.
Yeah.
So then it's 3 hours and you'd end up paying him one way or another.
yeah. You're looking for a motion to approve the contract from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, the 12 visits at discount rate for the total 17,880. Correct?
I'll make that a motion.
Good motion and second. Is there any further discussion?
Just a quick question. Is this in the 25 budget then?
This is.
It is. Okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion? I guess I know I've seen the bills over the years and know how much we've paid for these services too. So to get a discount rate, I definitely support this. So if there's no other discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Thanks.
And then, yeah, if you can get some clarity on Luke's question,
I will.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That concludes our regular business. Moving on to other business, personnel. Gary? Warren?
All right, so I have a couple of things today, so we can highway department interviews and scanning candidates who have CDLs. We know that we're gonna offer one and hopefully we can make a deal, but if we can't, we'll go to number 2, but either way, the level, the step C on B21 would be where we would start either one of those top two candidates with the CDL at 26.05 per hour in the 2025 pay plan. And asking for approval to send out that offer.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
The motion is second to approve the request for hiring.
One question for discussions though. So I assume that both of them do have enough experience to justify the step C. Okay,
Had significant conversation about the philosophy of how we start new people in highway, just because there's been a lot of openings in that particular area. And so, step A is kind of zero experience. Step B would be no CDL with some equipment experience on the resume that we can quantify. Step C would be CDL experience with over the road or equipment experience. We've never gone past that, but anything past that, we have discussed, it would be somebody who has years and years of exact equivalent experience, and a CDL would be up for consideration.
kind of why I phrased my question. They've got the experience to justify that because we know how delicate that balance is. You never want a situation where your existing employees feel that they're being overlooked. But if this new person coming in has the qualifications and the experience to justify that, that's doing a great job for us.
Well,
Thank you.
and then secondly, Nick, every time that we're gonna make the offer, when he makes his decision, he's very deliberate. So he looked at all the people we've recently hired and, reanalyzed, and which I appreciate because that I'm not as analytical as he is, so.
Because we need and want good qualified people, and you need to pay people their comparable worth. So I appreciate this approach.
Thanks. Any other discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries.
All right, the second request, and sorry for the add on here. When Wayne gave his resignation for retirement, it's kind of a best practice to pull the job description and just kind of take a look at it. That best practice, we also kind of asked around some of the other counties your facilities folks and what does their job description say? So then we sat down with Wayne, talked about everything on the job description, and personnel committee met after all of this information. You'll notice that we're using a different format to our job description. The only thing that changed on the job description, except format, was one tiny little statement that was about project management for renovations. It used to say that it was directed by the administrator. Now it just states that this person in this position will be managing those milestones himself. So the job description, once we got that completed and feedback from the personnel committee, we sent it over to Gallagher for a recommended pay scale grading. That came back C41. As you know, we cannot advertise this position until we have a completed job description, and all information has to be completely transparent. So I bring this before you today so that we can start advertising, so that we can fill that spot. I'm sure Steve would appreciate having someone to kind of take over these duties, so.
Thank you, Carrie. We're looking for a motion to approve the job description for facilities manager.
So moved.
There's second or support?
Second.
Thanks, Dan. Any further discussion?
Sure.
Yep.
Is the C41, is that a change or is that the same as it?
It's quite a change.
What was it before?
Don't remember. Remember, Steve?
Right off the top of my head, I don't.
So prior prior title for this position was building and grounds supervisor, which I do not feel was an accurate descriptor of what actually have this person do.
Is the duties different though?
What?
The duties are the same.
Yes, the duties are the same except that one sentence. So if you compare the old job description with other counties' job descriptions, they stated manager for those duties that were listed in what we had as supervisor. And this job description hadn't been reviewed in 12 years, I believe. So the focus here is making sure that we're treating people fairly. And so I believe that that title was incorrect. And so
Well,
the appropriate due diligence was
My
taken.
thought is Wayne went quite a few years then where he maybe should have been at a C-41.
No one has stated that to me, but
Well, if-
I agree that, you know,
job
that
didn't
someone,
change.
no, not very much, no.
But, you know, then he's going how many years? Just because they didn't look at the title of the manager or supervisors.
Is there precedent for this? Where things like this. So all I can do is the best in the moment, you know, when it my plate. And so this is my experience at the fore of, I don't think this is right. Let's do it right going forward. And so that's what we did in this case. I don't know if there could be other jobs like this. To me, when you conduct your wage audit, so when Gallagher did the big wage recertification, that's the time when there should be a job description audit as well to make sure that everything is working as it should be. I'm not sure if that took place because I wasn't a part of that project, but.
General past practices when there's a vacancy and it has been filled for quite a few years, which was in about an 8-year spread on this one. It was time to take a look at it again. That's an optimal time to review that. And the step and the range was B23 former, so it went up one range. And Wayne was at step L on the former on his last review. It was B23 and it went to a C41.
I want to be clear that when I met with Wayne, he did not complain about how he had been treated. He has never complained about his job description. You know, he was very gracious and also graciously offered to come and help train the next person.
And sometimes on jobs like this, it's bracket creep. The more he did it, the more he took on and the better he got at it. And so it took less time. So you got some time to do some more things. So.
That can be true. I would urge maybe the personnel committee can consider how we can create a process to analyze this in a different way in the future so that this doesn't creep up on us again. Perhaps when someone reaches a certain level of tenure with the county, you know, once A or a J, for example, you've got 10 years in, right? That's the kicker, or maybe we can create that process. Those things are analyzed more often. I can tell you in private, it will happen often because you'll have people in your office complaining. So they would come in and they would say, hey, you know, I can go get a job, you know, somewhere else where I'm going to make a lot more money. And then, you know, then you're in reaction mode and you just are forced to take those steps. But
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then you're also looking for board action to approve the opening of this position too, correct?
correct.
So look for a motion to approve the advertising for facilities manager.
Also move.
Go ahead, I'll second.
Okay, a motion second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah.
See if you're on the fair board too or new. facilities manager. Very handy to have him on the fair board.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe he's staying on the fair board.
Is he gonna stay on the fair board?
I believe, so.
Oh, he was,
Yeah.
he was there before. He worked here too. So.
Just so the board knows too, is that we keep adding things to this job that facilities manager was doing. We have more buildings now. We have aging buildings that need work. It's not gonna end, and we're looking at, building for the highway shop, possibly for the garage. We got fairgrounds issues out there. We just added the soil and water building to our buildings as well too. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and with also help from the custodial staff too.
Just created a process.
It should be, yeah.
As part of the review.
Good idea. Thanks, Karen. Okay, moving along, committee reports. I believe we did cover November 2024, so I believe it's December, right? Okay.
Oh, forgive me, sorry.
Nope, no problem. We'll start with Luke, work our way left.
Sure. On the 17th, we had a personnel committee meeting and the hospital board meeting. On January 2nd, in the Area 2 and RCRCA, a few projects were completed late last year, and we approved an upcoming audit for RCRCA. On the 8th, District 8 land use, it was reelected chair, and most counties had less construction permits in 2024. They're proposing an 1,800 acre solar site, which is going to surround the city of Reading entirely. Of course, it's permitted through the state, but I wouldn't be excited if I lived there. And Noble's also had an application for a personal runway. And the guy is trying to prevent a wind turbine project and wants to, have his own runway apparently. I thought this was kind of interesting. Lyon County is requiring for smaller solar projects that they're permitting, they require a $250,000 cash kind of in lieu of a bond.
Decommissioning.
Yeah, for decommissioning for the first megawatt and 50,000 cash for each additional megawatt of solar as a decommissioning guarantee. And they have it set up in a way so they can keep the interest earnings, but they'll return the principal after the proper decommissioning of the project.
That was Lyon County.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty novel approach to making sure that it gets it handled. Unfortunately, for the larger projects that the state's permitting, you're not able to do that. And I would think they'd be a bigger issue. I don't know how they're gonna get addressed. They're putting in also an XL substation about a mile south of Garvin Corners near a pipeline pump and other solar projects. And District 8 staff members felt that AMC and MRC should push for the Minnesota Department of Ag to offer pesticide applicator tests online so people can access them more often, and it'd be easier for them to access those tests because currently a lot of the people that are doing that are having a hard time getting to the test sites or, they're not offered very often and
It's a year.
yeah. And there aren't many people that do it to begin with, so it's be a problem. On the 9th and 10th, it was at the MHA conference and I figured I'll cover that more at the hospital board. And then yesterday we had our plan ops meeting at the hospital and also had the one watershed, one plan for the Redwood River, where we reviewed a couple sections of the plan, and the steering and advisory committees will meet prior to our next policy meeting in March. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Luke. Doug.
For December, regular board meeting on the 3rd, truth and taxation on December 3rd. December 5th, Prime West Health Alexandria meeting. The AMC conference attended, did 7 different breakout sessions, meetings there. Some are helpful, some are not. So you learn what you can. On the 12th, Soil and Water, our new committee member is Mike Fridke. On the 13th, Zoom meeting with extension for the search committee on our ag educator. 17th, 17th regular board meeting. 16th private industry council. Mary Mulder has retired. I'm not sure if you remember her. She did work out here some, Steve.
Yeah, I remember.
She retired the end of December. Also at the meeting, just some facts, the Wyndham meat plant is reopened, so that
Really?
helped our unemployment. Rock County actually set a national record for unemployment at 0.9%. So, but that was interesting. Pipestone's at 1.8%. Another interesting thing I thought was Worthington schools have 1 to 3 new students a week come in as a new American. So they got going through there, so.
I've also been told that they got 25 different languages
Yeah,
in the
I've
Knowles County.
heard about that, yeah. 18th, Southwest Health and Human Services. And 19th, Building and Grounds Committee on the Government Center edition.
Thanks. I'll go next. On the 3rd, had the board meeting. After that, we had a personnel committee meeting. That evening, Truth and Taxation. On the 9th, I had Towards Zero Death, the Lincoln Pipestone Safe Roads Coalition meeting. On the 17th, the regular board meeting, personnel committee afterward. And then the PCMC board later that afternoon. On the 20th, I had the PCMC quality board meeting. On the 23rd, CPT executive committee meeting. Then on the 30th, the law liaison. Dallas?
I'm up. December 3, regular meeting, December 8 to 11, AMC in Minneapolis. I went to the land surveying meeting and also to the Excel meeting. It was very well handled. She had done that talk 100 times before, and she didn't have any answers to my questions afterwards, but she didn't, that wasn't in her script, so. Malware they talked about, went to them one of those too, and they talked about honorable thieves. If they lock up your system and you pay them, said 100% of the time they open it back up. There's, you think that, well, just wash their hands and go, but he said they always give you the keys.
And it's not because they're good guys.
Because they want to do it again.
That's right.
This was right. 17th was a regular meeting, board meeting. 18th was Plum Creek Library meeting. They got a new van. Last year, or the last time they bought a van was 4 years ago, and they made a contest out of naming it. And they named it a Daisy for an acronym. I don't remember what it all stood for, but this time it's Vincent Van Gogh. The new van is Vincent.
Does it have ears?
I'm done.
Wednesday, the 2nd, the 3rd, it's a busy day. I had a regular board. I also had a rural Minnesota energy board. That was Zoom, thank goodness. And then also in the afternoon, we had the Pipestone child daycare follow-up meeting that we had. And then, of course, truth and taxation in the evening. So on the 5th, we had Prime West up in Alex. I had both financial board and regular board. On the 12th, worked with Jennifer Nelson with our Pipestone Area Coalition. And also we had a meeting on the Grow Shed. As you recall, that Grow Shed was a grant through Southwest Health and Human Services. Jennifer Nelson has taken over the leadership on that at the Health and Human Services level. I think I may have mentioned to you guys before that Jabari Bryant is very interested in it and he's been helping out a great deal with. We've had a few issues. We had a water leak we had to get fixed, so that's taken care of. And Jabari's ready to plant seeds this week, so we're getting going on that. It's been a long process. On the 13th, we had our Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium meeting. Oh, I wasn't able to attend that one at all in person. I was on the, oh, I take it back. I was. That one was in Marshall. And then from Marshall, I had to get down to Sladen for an ACE committee meeting as well too. So that was a busy day. It was the one this month I wasn't able to make it, but the December one I was at. 16th, plan ops for the hospital. Also in the evening, we had our SMOC, our Southwest Minnesota Operating Council meeting. 17th, we had a regular board, hospital board. On the 18th, Wednesday, we had Health and Human Services. We talked about that already. On the 19th, we had our building committee where we talked about the proposed building out at our government center. And on the 30th, then we had a meeting in regards to the law contract. And then also we had that was the extent of the meeting on that on the 30th. So that concludes my December report.
Okay, thanks, Dan. That concludes all the regular and other business. Is there any other business to come before the board? Yep, come on board. Sure.
Jacoby, council member, will possibly tonight. I'm not gonna go into all of it, but I'm gonna let you guys know that the bottom and short of this was a financial situation. A 48% raise was too much for our community to afford. My question was asked to Keith Freeman, was in 26, will you go back to the original base? This was last year's at the meeting. Your commissioner was there. I said, will you go back to the original number with the standard rate of inflation? And Keith laughed. I explained to him that he can look at our records, look at our numbers. We don't have 12,000 some extra dollars. We live in a town that our financial basis is very low. That was the end result of this. Then last year or the year before, there was 4 other communities that felt the same way we did. And then the lie got spread out. You know what I'm talking about? No 911, no dispatch, no nothing. An illegal statement. Fact. Everybody caved, including us. Well, this year we had a lawyer dig into it and found out we were in the right. And this statement that's in here, if you want a copy, I can give it to you, was not right. That man should know better than to inform you guys that this was a legal statement. Because if it was, you know what the other letters that came from the state said this was wrong. I will let you know, you can take this any way you want to take it, especially you, because you wrote a letter to the editor that was false information. The state didn't agree with you. I've talked to 4 of the communities that feel the same way we do. The following year, when this is done, you guys will have a problem. You will have people that know that your blanket lie. If you want a copy, I got it for everybody. Don't hold water. They do not feel that they were getting value from the original price before you guys voted that Freeman could take a 48% raise based upon some free money. Well, the problem everybody else has is after that money's gone, you aren't going to go back to original price. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, the problem is people in our communities didn't get a 48% raise. People in our communities, Luke, including yourself. I know personal things. You're against spending money. You're against this. You're against that. So where are these people supposed to, in our town like we have of Holland? And I'm gonna let you know, I can't name names because that's not right. But 4 of the communities, and it's gonna spread. I actually got someone in trouble in this town. I have message on my phone from a mayor of this town that agrees with me that you guys have overstepped. 48%, 49% too much. I know you don't agree. I get that clear.
No, it's ironic though that the mayor here, who used to be the sheriff, was in favor of this while he was the sheriff, but now he's not because he's the mayor of Pipestone. And just to be
okay.
clear,
Yep, I'm listening.
that if all communities in the county decide to go this route,
Mhm.
rural taxes are going up.
They're going up anyways.
No, it'll be significant because you will be subsidizing the city of Pipestone's law enforcement. Currently, they pay half the sheriff's budget because they have well over half the calls, like about 2/3 of the calls are from Pipestone. And
I understand that.
Okay, so currently they pay about half the budget for the sheriff's department. And this was stated in the Star, so it's common public knowledge. But I mean, currently 4,200 people in the city of Pipestone are paying half the sheriff's budget. If we have to levy for that, rather than the city paying for that, it's gonna be levied to all county residents.
I get it. I totally.
So that means that,
I'm aware of
that
this.
means that our taxes in Holland and every other small community are gonna
Correct.
go up significantly to help subsidize the city of Pipestone's law enforcement if we were to levy for all towns in the county. So I don't know that that's necessarily, the most fair to people in small communities where we're paying a fraction of what, we would be if we have to levy for all towns.
This is an issue between you, and I'll just say his name, Dan. You want to sit down with Dan and his commission, his group. I'm gonna tell you, I know the facts. I've talked to all these communities. I've talked to all these towns. You were requested to be at another town's council meeting coming. This
And
is,
I'm more
this,
than happy to do
but
that.
I'm just telling you guys, this isn't a personal issue. I do not have a problem with Keith Freeman. I don't have a problem with him. I have no issue with the fire, with the police department. I have none. This is a fiscal situation. I beg you to go through our books and find where we're supposed to find more money. There's only one way it's gonna happen, and that's something you don't want. Raise our taxes significantly in our town. It's the same thing I've said to, we did not take this decision lightly. This wasn't a one-day decision. We talked about it for 3 months. And we had 4 residents come to the council meeting. 4 out of a town of 147 people that actually wanted to pay. And I made this comment to these 4, 5, 8 people that have come forward now. I said, you are welcome to look at the city's books and tell me where we find the money. We have $10 with $16 of the bills. And I think that nobody here is getting that. And so does Ruthven. So does Hatfield. So does, I can keep naming names, and I've talked to every single one of them. So this problem is not gonna go away, guys. I'm gonna let you know that. When I walk out this door, if you think this is resolved and this issue is done, you are wrong. It is not done. And then I'm gonna tell you something that you need to talk to them about. A lot of people don't feel like they got value at the original price. And that isn't me talking. This isn't, one more time, I have no problem with Keith Freeman or Mike Heyman or any of the officers. People have said this to my face. Council members of other communities that did not feel they got value at what they paid before the 48, 49% increase in price that they had to get from their taxpayers. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you guys can take this any way you want. You can shut the door and have your meeting and talk. But I'm gonna tell you, that's the issue. You are welcome to come tonight, Luke.
I will be there.
That's great. And you can pitch your thing. But this is my comment. I'll tell you what I said to different residents. I said, how about we do a levy? Because we don't have the money. We don't have the money. I will let you take the books with
And
you.
I guess I would question why you don't have.
We don't, because it's just, we don't. There's a whole list of things. I beg you, I asked you to become our mayor because you're not an unintelligent person and you have no interest in it.
That's right.
You have no interest in coming and really getting your feet wet and really stick your nose into what's going on in Holland. I wish you
Doing
would
that
do it.
by being here.
I know, but I wish you could come and see that we literally have a problem in our community. We literally have a simple numbers is $10 intake, 16 out. I don't know about anybody else, but my electric bill, everybody's bills have went skyrocketing. Correct?
Yeah.
That's the same thing happened to our little town of Holland. I mean, we're literally nitpicking our little Robert Hubner, our city guy, not to work, over a certain amount of hours. I mean, we're literally that tight and stuff. We got into an argument over saving $50 on swing set equipment amongst the council. $50. I mean, this is no joke, guys. The town is broke. I beg you to come and read the paper. It's public record. Take it home, go through it. If there's something our treasurer's doing wrong, mayor's doing wrong, I've done wrong, say it, please. All I'm telling you is this is not done. You know what I'm saying? You got the checks from everybody else. But if you think they willingly did it, if they had known what we know now, they would not have gave you a check. I'm gonna let you know that. So you can take it any way you want to take it. This is not personal. It's facts. These other towns don't have a plethora of extra money around. I'm sorry, they don't. Now, in the end, I get your point, but if you add a buck, I mean, this would piss farmers off, but if you added a buck an acre and $3 to this and to each person and spread it through the whole county, I feel that's a lot more fair than Mrs. Arndt all of a sudden having to have her taxes doubled. You know what I'm saying? A lady that's retired that doesn't have any money. You know what I'm saying? I can go down the list of all these people in our little town that live on a small budget.
But nobody said their taxes doubled in Holland.
Well, but I'm just being hypothetical. If we needed to double our revenue to hire a proper city guy and to start doing things like a normal town would do, Luke, it's
We don't
that
have enough
bad.
people to do that.
I know we don't, but you still want us to spend $12,000 next year. Next year. And 2026 is my issue. That was my statement to you. Today, yes, there's free money. Thank you guys for
No
finding
free
it.
money.
Well, money's never free because people have to pay it, but you understand there's a grant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another issue. We are, and I know this will upset you, midsummer, fall, we got to raise our rates for our water $35. People complained, including you, about 20 we raised it. We raised it 20 this year because rural water raised the price and we had some additional costs that came running our sewer pond. So we raised it $20. Midsummer, when that tower starts, we are obligated financially to raise it $35 to cover the $12,777 that has to be paid in payment to the loan, and $16,000 some dollars has to be saved for future, it's part of the agreement. And then, by the way, our little town that everybody's ignored, our infrastructure is shot. We get letters, we get notifications from the state every time it rains heavy in the spring. Our sewer pond is out of compliance. So that 16 million that he stated, try more like 22. And
No different than the water tower project. I mean, you could have done it a few years ago for 400,000. And all of a sudden now it's 1.1 million or whatever.
I agree, but everybody ignored it. People don't like me because I'm a realist. I'm sorry. I'll say it. I won't sugarcoat nothing. I've had people upset with me. I said, you didn't care 20 years ago. You know, the leaks we've had in the community and the problems we've had in the community weren't here. It didn't just happen in my 4 years of tenure.
No, to be
and
fair,
everybody's
Joel,
ignored
you're
this.
right. I mean, I've gone before the city council for the last 30 years and said 30 years ago, they should have addressed some of these issues.
Well,
But
nobody
you're right,
did.
but nobody did.
And now we're stuck with this. And this is the issue I got. I have people upset over $20 a month increase in water bill. Well, if I increase taxes, if I stay on, there's a chance I might because of circumstance. If I vote to increase taxes of some sort or do a levy or whatever, so I don't have to share with you guys to pay things like sheriff's deal, what's the response going to be? You know, the 4 people that want this police, I gave them that option. I says, I'm retired. I'll go door to door. And if 50% of the community says yes, we'll say yes. And then we are going to do a levy, and you included will pay approximately $120 a year. And on a sliding scale, if they raise the rate, additional, the check will come to the city of Holland like a water bill. And guess what they did? We pay enough. I explained to them, we don't have it. $10, $16 bill. And I'm going to say that to you tonight when you come to the council. I beg you to take the paperwork home with you. Sit down, go through it. If there's something wrong, please come back and tell us. You ain't going to find nothing because I have nothing but time in my life. I've spent a lot of time looking what we get and what we have to spend. There's 2 different margins there. Thank you guys for your time. I really hope this situation doesn't continue.
Dan?
Mr. Chair, if I can, and before you go,
Yep.
couple things. Something you don't hear very often as a servant of the community.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well,
You
I've
don't
done.
have to be beating your head against the wall.
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm the one that spearheaded all this, and I'm the guy that's probably gonna get stopped for 63 and a 55 because they're not happy with me upstairs. Oh, I hope it don't happen.
But I want to convey to you, and I understand, I feel the same way. As you know, I get frustrated. DOT, I get frustrated with them.
Mhm.
And when you feel that you don't have any autonomy, any authority, it's very frustrating. But I want you to believe in your heart that we are not an adversary. The Pipestone County Commissioners is not an adversary
That's the way it's looked.
of, I know that circumstances, when you're looking at this rock and hard place, it feels that way. We are a partner for you. We want to try to help. We're facing the same kind of issues here, and it's terribly frustrating. So first, I appreciate that you're willing to serve on the city council. That's a thankless job. We all know that. So appreciate you hanging in there.
Anybody knows me, I kind of lost my position because of who I am. I'm too passionate. I get too angry. Another person stepped in that really has absolutely no interest in doing this.
Yeah.
And that person, if circumstances takes it, she can have it. I mean, believe it or not, I've had many people say, why would they not vote for you? And I said, because I've stepped on too many toes. I'm too me. I'm too me. I'm just, I don't have to explain it, and society doesn't like that. They like my voice, but they don't want to hear it.
But I want you to understand that and believe that we are not against you. And as you know, we're facing the same, and the whole thing with the state, and even the small communities, we fall below, Pipestone falls below 5,000 population. So now the money for DOT has to come through the county for roads. It's just a quagmire of rules and regulations. Sometimes it makes you want to scream. But could you clarify for me though? You talked about the percentage increase, 46% increase, you said something like that?
It was 48% is my knowledge. The paper said 49.
That was a year ago, right?
A year ago.
Yeah.
That was when that grant came and they split it in half. The town of Holland got $7,800 and some odd change. I have all my paperwork at home. I probably should have brought it here. I didn't know you guys had even looked.
Oh, and yeah, you mentioned also we can close the door. No, we don't. Close
Yeah,
the door.
well,
This is-
whatever, but so it was split up. I thank you guys for that, but this was the issue. I understand you guys have a budget. I get it. I understand that doesn't work for free upstairs. Our town, that's the problem we have. Our town is so behind in times.
Yeah.
I mean, the average tax base is $400 per house. The county takes over 50% of that. We have another issue that is, I've been told it's considered racist when I say this, but we have a very new population coming in town that don't exist. They don't do censuses. They don't exist. They don't.
Fly under the radar. Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? They work at the businesses. They don't exist. They run under your social security number. We need these people. I'm not saying that, but we've also lost money. That's something else
Need
too,
to be
Luke.
counted.
Huh?
They need to be counted.
Counted, but they're not. Yeah.
I understand.
We lost 19 homes. This is public record. They don't exist.
Right.
In our town, I went through our town and actually did a census myself, door to door of houses, and okay, there's 4 there, there's 3 here, and when it was all done, you wouldn't believe the number of homes that people are not there. Yeah, Mike Zeinstra, I'm sorry, saying names, he pays taxes on 6 homes, but we're not getting any state aid for the occupancies in those homes. We're not getting any funding. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know more about this than I do. So there's another bump that goes against us. Meanwhile, they use our sewer system more. They're using our facilities more. Yeah, they pay a piddly water bill in comparison to, you guys ever see Edgerton's? Like I say, I mean, you guys know, I'm sorry when I say this, people are not happy upstairs with completely happy. I've talked to even people in Edgerton about this. This is, I mean, you guys got an issue coming, and even if I'm out of the council member, you have a problem coming. I'll let you know. There's issues that need to be resolved. There's communities that do not feel that they got value. I'm repeating myself again from what they paid originally.
Edgerton's water bill is $121.90.
It was somebody wanted to be helpful but not show it, and I have it covered up. It's insanity. This particular guy's water bill with sewer, garbage, and whole works is just $186 a month. I mean, and
We're all old enough to remember when mortgages weren't that
yeah,
much.
but like I said, everything's just gotten crazy. And in the end, I appreciate what you're saying, Dan. This got way too far. It got too personal. I fought pretty hard on it. In the end, I'm gonna let you guys know there is a financial problem in these little communities.
It's
Hatfield.
not just in the little community, it's all over.
I mean,
That's really.
no, I upset Dan. I'll let you know. Dan talked to me. I have messages on my phone that prove what his true feelings are of upstairs and some of this. He got upset with me for speaking my mouth. Now he barely talks to me. Just telling you facts. He barely talks to me because I exposed what his feelings were. That's your guys' problem. Do you hear what I just said? How he feels and how his city council feels in Pipestone is a you problem.
We know that.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. So the feeling is mutual. I mean, I've talked, Woodstock is not happy. Hatfield's not happy. Trotsky's not happy. Jasper's not happy.
And again,
I mean-
it's the financial part.
No, they're not. The financial part is an extra kick. They were not happy with what they got for services before the increase. I mean, it's kind of like this. I said at the council meeting to people, the 8 people now that have come forward that wanted. As soon as they realized that it wasn't true, Damon Sandy's poppycock, there's still 8 fighters that are still fighting, that still believe your point of view, Luke. Everybody has a right to it. I said to these people, when's the last time someone got a speeding ticket in Holland? Can anybody answer? I know the answer because one of his deputies talks to me. Last DWI since Darby Corps opened her bar. Last DWI period came when Woolby's was open, and that's been closed forever. Okay. When's the last ticket that somebody got for blowing the stop sign on the railroad track in Holland? The woman's dead, Margaret Dreiter. What are we getting? The last time a drug house, there's 3 of them in Holland, that peripheral that jump around. When's the last time they were raided, busted, that had to do with an investigation from the sheriff's office? I've investigated that. That was because somebody got busted and ratted to get a plea deal. So then they knew that, let's say this particular house had this items in the house, and then they proceeded. People didn't feel like, the majority of the people in town didn't feel like they were getting value at the original rate. And now you guys approved to continue it. I mean, you didn't even meet us in the middle. You guys should have talked to us. You should have said, okay, how about we go halfway? Nobody gave that option. Freeman laughed that day. You saw it. He laughed. You didn't give us any options. And I think if you guys want to keep getting money from these towns, you're going to have to bend, or this is going to continue. I'm going to let you know that. You can take it any way you want. It's not a threat. This is just a fact from me hearing other council members talk and mayors. They weren't satisfied with the service that they got to start with. And now you're asking for a 48% increase to continue. So what do we all do when somebody asks for more money and you don't feel like you're getting your value? You get it. So thank you for your guys' time. Any other questions? I just letting you know what's going on. I'll probably see you tonight. Yeah.
Joel, did you have documents you wanted the board to have out of that?
Well, it's just what I have passed out in Holland. It's
The
just,
same
it's
letters
the
that
same
we've
letter
seen.
that.
What's that?
It's just the copies of the letters that have been gone back.
Okay.
Sandy's.
We've seen
It's
them.
the
Okay, that's right.
state of Minnesota's.
Oh, that, okay, gotcha.
We have your guys' response to the state of
We
Minnesota.
have that.
These are all the things that we had to pass out because somebody in our community kept telling people, I guess it's a real statement. I'm pretty disappointed. Why would I believe something that Joel Jacoby is telling us when county commissioner has been doing it for 20 years? I mean, yeah, that's got to stop because this is a fact. It's a fact.
Obviously, so I'll acknowledge that the information I was given was not
He needs
accurate.
to lose his job.
911 services.
And I'll be honest with you, I feel like you do too. I'm sorry, but you were told that your letter to the editor wasn't true and you still, under passion, chose to do it. I've gotten a lot of shit because I'm the head of it because we got a coward for a mayor. You know what I'm saying? Fact. The only time he gets any gusto, I mean, he finally stepped forward and wanted to make a statement once this finally was there. Otherwise, I'm the only one that talked with John Engels, our lawyer, and talked to counties all around us, guys. You look like a bunch of jerks. I can send any one of you guys, you want to give me your numbers, there's 9 of them of the community counties all around us that don't pull this crap. Don't send out a threat letter to their towns that don't pay for extra services. It's a fact. I have your number. You want me to send it to you? You can pass it on to them. This is real. This isn't propaganda. This is real, guys.
Joe, what's your understanding? You mentioned the surrounding counties as well too.
I'll pull it up my phone and I'll read you the tongue.
We've asked that question before too. How do the other counties finance their law enforcement, their sheriff's office? And again,
I don't know that
strictly
detail.
off of
Nobody
levy.
got into that with me. They spread it out. One town, like I say, I've dug deep in these guys. A lot of eggs been spread. One person I talked to, a lady that is the secretary for 3 communities, told me that that particular county that has three, just spread it out. Three non-payers.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Three.
in their other communities.
In their
Okay.
community.
Yeah.
Lyon County, 3.
See,
Lincoln, 1.
I also talk.
I can send you the list. This is real. And I'll let you know, I have too much time on my hands. I went beyond that to other counties and called and asked, do you have any other small little communities, a Hatfield, a Trotsky,
Right.
a Holland that couldn't afford? And they said, yes, we do. And I said, well, did you guys tell them that there'll be no 911, no dispatch? Well, gosh, no, that'd be against the law. Against the law. He needs, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's not done. He informed you wrong, or you guys informed him wrong, something.
We don't inform him.
Well, then you need to have him call him and have him sit down there and explain to him. Because this right here, what I have is cake in all your faces, because you stood behind his statement. I'm sorry. If you guys want one, you guys want to need a copy?
No, we have.
We've got.
Okay, I can gladly, yeah. That was a lie.
See,
A lot of old people in town freaked out over that, Luke. You won't believe the number of calls I got. How could you do this? How could you do this? The guys upstairs went as far. You guys should talk to them and ask them why they contacted Kent Wilbur 3 different times, pushing him, trying to scare him to rustle us to back off about who's going to dispatch. He was supposed to contact the fire chief of Holland, the EMS chief. One guy upstairs contacted Merle, and I got that from a county person told me this to my face. Guy of MH contacted Merle Zeinstra. 2 days before that, your guys' response came. I need you to explain to us how you're going to dispatch. So when we call you, you can dispatch, fire off your pagers. This is all fact. This went way too far, guys. Way too far. It's a fact. Like I say, I don't know if this is done. Part of me thinks this should never happen again. It went too far. You didn't realize the original situation. The original situation is these communities don't have this money. They don't.
and recognize where we're at, trying to figure out also how to finance this off of the levy from the citizens.
I have
of
a
the
couple
county.
ideas to cut costs. Is there a reason every deputy has his own vehicle at home? Is there a reason that Freeman, I mean, nobody else got a 17% raise? I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but cut costs. That's what I've had to do to live. When over the last 4 years, everything's went up. I didn't get a big boost, and my wife didn't. She's a nurse. She didn't get a big raise. We had to cut costs, not go out to eat, not spend as much, shop for cheaper insurances, do this, do that. I mean, I don't see any cutting costs. I just see inflation and you guys trying to make everybody meet it. I'm sorry, that's a statement that was made to me by a mayor of one of these communities. Why didn't you guys ask them to cut costs? Why did he get a big raise? Nobody else got a raise like that. I'm sorry. I ain't saying he doesn't have value and doesn't give something to our community, but we're all in a financial bind here. And you guys, I'm sorry, you made a mistake of asking these little towns to be able to afford it. You know, I think you guys need to regroup. If I stay on, I'm not saying I won't change my mind, but I'm not going to change my mind for $12,000 plus, 11 something plus the increase with the standard rate of inflation. He bragged about, I didn't raise the rate at all 2 years. What? You raised it $4,000. You took a grant that we could have gave to our fire department. It's a safety grant. It wasn't a sheriff's grant, correct?
I don't know what it was.
I read it.
That was at 4,000.
Yes, divided in half. But what I'm trying to say is we could have used it to paint signs, to put signs in town. We could have did a safety grant. It wasn't a police grant. You know what I'm saying? There was other ways we could do it. And now that we've not done it, we plan on using that money on, say, fire departments and other things. I think you guys need to renegotiate and figure out, negotiate with them. And unless you want more Hollands, you best sharpen your pencils. Because I know what I'm hearing from council members and mayors. Now they know that you can't go with his baloney. That when they call 911, you can't go, oh, sorry, you didn't pay extra. There's no services. Complete lie. I pray that they're dumb enough to do that when someone calls 911. I hope it's my house. You know why, don't you? The wagon chaser lawyer would love it. It's a federally funded program. What he told you, you guys should have known better. I'm sorry. Thank you for your time. But something to think about. I'll let you know the other communities are not happy. Take it any way you want. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I'll see you tonight. Luke, I wish you'd get involved with it. I wish you would have been a city council member, because the end result is for our little community, there's only one way we're going to get more money, is the next census. We have to figure out a way to force these people to show they exist and increase taxes. And you don't want that. Remember, you made the statement when we redo the town, put it back in gravel to save money.
Yep.
It don't work both ways.
And I still think you should consider that at some point, because some of the roads are so bad now, you might as well.
I disagree. It's no different than, I mean, I hope I'm not being recorded still, but whatever. You won't believe the idiocracy. We had an ex-mayor come in there just complaining about everything. And I said, man, why didn't you do it when it was 300 and some thousand years ago? We've been getting letters from the state about the water tower for damn near 20 years.
Right.
Well, you mean you sat on board on that spot for 18 years? Why didn't you do something? I mean, and now everybody's pissed off. Because pretty soon I've had comments, I'm just won't move the Pipestone. You might have to. You know, Pipestone is going to be just about as bad as Holland eventually is going to have to be to live if we upgrade everything like the state wants us to. So thank you for everybody.
Yep.
So.
Or any other business to come before the board? No?
Please, sir.
That I'll seek a motion to adjourn. Call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
What's this gentleman's name?
Joel Jacoby.
Joel Jacoby. 1 second.